welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. The colonial La Republic de Cameroon's government has mocked Ambazonians by sending the colonial Minister of Public Works to Amazonia in the name of evaluating the level of road construction. A rather interesting drama. What exactly do they want to evaluate? Roads in Amazonia leave nothing to be desired. Hypocritically, the colonial La Republic's government officials hold the slogan, living together. Meanwhile, only La Republic de Cameroon and of the Cameroons is enjoying the wealth of the nation with no crumbs falling for southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Meanwhile, the determination of the people of Esu to preserve their tradition has compelled the colonial senior divisional officer for Meijang to swallow his tongue. Ambazonians have used this as a measuring rod, noting that if the fight for the liberation of southern Cameroon's Ambazonia has the same unity as it did with the people of Esso, it probably would have gained its recognition by now. We would never know. More in Amazonia coming in the full briefings of Undaunted tonight after the prime headlines.
Right, here are the prime headlines for today. La Republic, the colonial minister, reminds Ambazonians of how bad the roads are. Colonial La Republic, the Cameroon military commits yet another sacrilegious act in Ambazonia. I'm sure you want to find out what he did. In-house slave parliamentarian escapes from Ambazonian fighter cell untransformed. Esu community stands tall. Colonial mention as the bows. Right. And of course, the foreign senior BRICS banks chief financial officer sees no move anytime soon towards common currency. And in sports, Vinicius Junior Rio de Janeiro government names anti-racism law after Real Madrid forward. Now let's get the news in detail.
Our vision in this interim government is to make ABC a leader and a real war horse of our struggle. We want to grow it, expand it, hire and train more hands, and broadcast round the clock, around the world, and take command of the media space of this world.
You can enjoy all round the clock, 24/7 exclusive moments of bliss as an ABC Amba TV Club member. A cappella. Latest Nigerian / African movies, global politics, ABC Amba News and updates, historical documentaries, and lots more. In our daily programs, we have Undaunted, ABC Amba News, bringing into the news untold stories with Onyi Okpala and Star Smart. Exclusive discussion, revolutionary panel conversation, infotainment, edutainment, intro governmental debates on topical issues with Tar Paddy King, State of the Liberation Movement, Fronting IG and People of Ambazonia's Position, The Struggles Weekly Update with Secretary Martin Mungwa, PhD, FASC. Health is Wealth, Health Education and Awareness within the Ambazonian Community with Dr. Yaya. Liberation Prayer, an intercessory ministry for Ambazonia with Pastor Victor Mba. Our Freedom, Spiritual Awareness and Education for the Ambazonian Community with Pastor Victor Mba and Pastor Commando. Church and Politics, Neutralizing the Myths and Preconceived Religious and Political Philosophies that limit the Christian involvement in the realms of decent politics with Pastor Commando. The Horizon, The Voice of the Ambazonian Woman with Dr. Patience Abiedo and Lady Casey. Our Amber History, bringing to limelight the hidden history of Ambazonia to the world with Pastor Commando. Appointment on community building, education on patriotism within the Ambazonian communities with Ma Rachel Itatima. Ethics for an Imagined Nation, watchdog of basic principles and morals of a nation at war with Ma Dorothy Ngwa. Upcoming programs: Pigeon News, Vernacular Talk Show, County Roots, Activists Corner, Amba Focus, only on ABC Amba Television. We the people, the voice of the voiceless. For 24/7 access, subscribe as a club member on www.abcambatv.com/subscribe.
The people of ASU have demonstrated the true Ambazonian spirit by putting up a united front against the appearance of evil. The La Republic of Cameroon government has done a lot of harm to Ambazonian institutions with their assimilation tendencies. Undaunted reported on the 19th of June 2023 of the Colonial Senior Divisional Officer for Meijang Meling with the replacement of the disappeared Fon of ASU, who was murdered together with his wife. People of ASU stood up as one and made statements condemning the colonial SDO's move. Away from individuals, the Meijang Council of Chiefs sent a jointly signed letter condemning the attempt. The ASU Development Association, in recent with the condemnation, says this is not what they want. Now, this is where we'll begin the full briefings of Undaunted tonight. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, very well, Loni. The determination of the people of Esu to preserve their tradition has compelled the colonial senior divisional officer for Menchum to swallow his tongue. If the fight for the liberation of southern Cameroon's Ambazonia has the same unity, Ambazonians now believe that they will gain their recognition. Why would an Ambazonia for stomach's sake side with the enemy? A lot are asking. Is freedom not more precious than food and drinks?
While the Colonial Senior Divisional Officer for Meijang has accepted defeat with his graveyard silence attitude towards the attempt to adulterate the succession to the throne of ASU. The ASU Culture and Development Association Caretaker Committee organized a press conference in Douala on Saturday, June 17th, in reaction to a communique from the Colonial Meijang SDO calling for applications from persons wishing to occupy the throne after the passing of Fon Kum Acho II over a year ago is the last stroke that dismantled the Colonial SDO scheme.
Now, the ASU Association members spoke bitterly, noting that they chose to respond through a press outing because a Colonial Senior Divisional Officer, Abdullahi Aliu, had turned down the request to hold talks with him in person. The association's legal counsel, Barrister Kum Charles, argued that it was not in the Colonial SDO's place to intervene in matters concerning enthronement in their village. He said as a second-class fundum, it was within the powers of the Colonial Minister of Territorial Administration to intervene.
Well, the fact that the notables in charge were not consulted by the Colonial SDO also violated Article 11 of the same law, Barrister Kum Charles pointed out. The ASU Association gave the Colonial Senior Divisional Officer 2 months to react to their outing, either considering their grievances or rejecting it. If he rejects, the Colonial Governor will be consulted, and if he persists, Well, they said they would take it to court, the chairman of the ASU Cultural Association declared. Today, Thursday, July 6, 2023, marks 17 days since the ASU Cultural and Development Association called on the colonial mainstream SU to consider drug grievances, yet he hasn't made a statement. Pundit told that the silence means the colonial law republic, the Cameroon administrator, has realized that the people of ASU are a hard nut to crack.
Well, four novice Kumacho II and his wife were brutally assassinated on March 9th, 2022, while returning from Way, where they had gone to enthrone a new chief. The Esu people say they have never witnessed such a sacrilegious incident in their kingdom. The community has been in mourning till today as they wait for the right moment to enthrone a new ruler. The kingdom of Esu is found in the Fungom local government area, Meijang County, located some 89 kilometers away from Bamenda.
Well, and moving on, the three arrested by the Ambazonian Restoration Forces on the 21st of May 2023 are still to learn. A video which was taken after them regaining their freedom went further to giving thanks to the Colonial Republic of the Cameroon government. Well, this is the same person because of whom they were arrested. Well, right mind, after going through a correction process, will renounce his belonging to the side of the enemy. So thanking Paul Biya is indicative of the fact that they have learned their lessons.
Well, these in-house slaves are putting their lives on the line for dictator Paul Biya, who cares less about them. A case in point is the recent colonial general to the La Republic's government on an altar in church, rubbished in-house slave Paul Atanganji as an enemy in the house just because he is Anglophone. This should serve as a lesson that they don't really care about the Anglophones. This is the same Atanganji Paul who has been fighting and still fighting the Amazonian fight for independence. Ambazonians still feeding on the table of La Republic might think that they care about them, but this has gone further to prove that wrong. The La Republic's government is mostly using them for selfish aims. The earlier they realize the resign, return, and join the fight against La Republic, I think it's going to be better. Now, the in-house slave Honorable Ujambeng Stephen Andong, the section president for the ruling Cameroon People's Democratic Movement (CPDM), Momo 4, said they escaped from the hands of the Ambazonian Restoration Forces after spending 1 month and 3 weeks. In a video that is in circulation, the three say they escaped miraculously. They are the in-house slave MP, Member of Parliament, principal, and the Colonial Youth Affairs delegate. All members of a delegation to spearhead the banned 20th of May celebrations in India, who were arrested by the Amazonian Restoration Forces on May 19th.
Well, the man who led the delegation to the Momo County for the charade said, "We were arrested after the section conference held on the 19th of May and followed up on the 20th of May celebration. It has not been a bed of roses." He says, "I want to start by thanking God for being alive up to this moment." Well, he noted that July 4th was supposed to be the last day for their execution, but they miraculously escaped, though he never spelled how it happened. He did not disclose how they escaped from the robbers. Well, unconfirmed opinions hold that there was a negotiation and an agreement aggrieved between the forces and the captives.
With two other responsible persons from Ngi who are civil servants, the principal of GTHS, Teze Ngi, Mr. Ta, and also the sub-delegate for Youth Affairs for Ngi, who is also here with me. We were arrested after a section conference that we had in Andengi on the 19th of May and followed up with the 20th May celebration. On the 21st, we left and they're going back to town, and they were arrested on the way around Guapon in Bengu subdivision and taken to the Amba camps in Numben. It has not been bed of roses. I want to start by thanking God Almighty who have kept us alive up to this moment because we have spent 1 month, 3 weeks in Numben, moving from one camp to the other. And we thank God that today was almost the last day for them to execute us. God being a miraculous God works way out. We call the divisional officer for Widikum, and he organized, mobilized the military service here to be alert that we were going to take the highest risk on earth to escape. Because when they tell you that your life is ending in a few minutes, you have to start running before the minute elapses. So I also want to use this opportunity to thank the head of state, President Paul Biya, part of our nation, for steadfast love for the people of Cameroon. Because if you look at what these guys are doing, and you look at the kind of president that we have, who have remained peaceful, calling on his sons and daughters to show love to one another and understand that we cannot resolve our individual problems killing one another. Everywhere, like it happens in other countries, I think Northwest and Southwest would have been talking of chaos. But the head of state still pardon people. And we ourselves, who are elite of this area, go through torture like this from our own brothers. So I think we really need to thank the head of state for what he's doing. And that we, as sons and daughters of these regions that are having crisis, should be able to talk to our brothers. There is no country without a problem. Even at the level of families, there are problems. But then they solve this problem amicably. They don't kill. We have disintegrated the land, spiriting blood here and there. And so we just give God the glory. We are really tired. We cannot say more. We need some rest and to clean up. If you look at how we are, we look like some chimpanzees that are coming from the forest. It's not our making, but the condition in which we were living. Don't laugh at us when you see us so dirty the way we are. But pray for us and thank all the Christian family who have been praying for us as we're in captivity. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Well, on to this next report. Looking at the bad roads in Ambazonia, the Colonial La Republic's government has mocked Ambazonians by sending the Colonial Minister of Public Works to Ambazonia to evaluate the level of road construction. Rather ironic, roads in Ambazonia leave nothing to be desired, and this is no news. Hypocritically, the Colonial La Republic's government officials hold the slogan, "Living together," yet only La Republic end of the Cameroons is eating the nation's wealth and having their own side of the country developed.
Well, all that Ambazonia and those of the northern zone in particular enjoy as roads from the Paul Biya's government are fruitless promises. Some promises by President Paul Biya in 1985, about 38 years ago, to personally supervise their construction is still to see the light of the day. The colonial La Republic of Cameroon government has mocked Ambazonians a lot. The road construction was announced in 1985 and the colonial public Minister of Works in visiting in 2023, not for the reception of a constructed road, but to check the construction process. Who are they deceiving?
Well, the only way out for Amazonia to enjoy what others, every other country is enjoying in different countries and over the century, like a good road infrastructure network, is to completely part ways with La Republique as they do not care about them. As opined in an earlier report, two cannot move together unless they agree.
Well, the people of southern Cameroon, of the Savannah Zone and the Midland Zone have been deprived of a luxury of road by the Colonial Republic of Cameroon government. The Colonial Republic of Cameroon government Minister of Public Works Emmanuel Ngano Njumesi has wasted 2 days on his stay on earth in Amazonia, precisely in Bamenda, the Midland Zone, in what he termed evaluating work progress on the Bamenda-Babaju Road. It is only another La Republic of Cameroon organized move to squander taxpayers' money. It is not his first, nor his second. Months ahead, he will be in yet another mission that has never yielded any fruit.
On the last of such visits of the colonial minister, he blamed insecurity for the slow pace of work on the same road, this time ending his 2 day visit that started Monday 3rd. The colonial minister is blaming the slow pace of work on the rains. Of course, it is the rainy season and it must rain. What will be the excuse next time? The in-house Dr. Joseph Dionungote, colonial prime minister to the BS government, in his visit to Bamenda in 2018, in what had a baptismal name for peace store, promised Ambazonians that the Bamenda Babaju Road will be constructed that same year.
What does it mean no law Republic to Cameroon government official can be trusted? The situation of roads in Ambazonia is such that even the in-house slaves to the colonial Law Republic, the Cameroon government, are complaining. The in-house slave mayor of colonial Kambe in a video of what politicians will say, biting the finger feeding him, blasted the Law Republic, the Cameroon system for the bad words in his municipality. There's just no more to push away the finger feeding you, especially when that finger is dirty.
Well, in the video, a part of the ring road number 7 is captured, and the video shows how bad the road is with circulation halted, with passengers and holidaymakers stranded as well. The Bamenda Babaju Road is the stretch linking the midland zone of Ambazonia to the La Republic's west region. For decades now, the stretch has been under supposed constructions until today. Ambazonia has the worst state of roads in the entire Cameroon.
Meanwhile, moving on, the Creole heartless barbaric military brutality killed the Queen Mother of Meijang village, which is in Bello local government area, Boyo County, and burnt the palace. Sound News reaching ABC Amber TV has confirmed that the Meijang community, a village in Bello, in Boyo County in the northern zone, has been plunged into mourning following the brutal killing of their Queen Mother. Queen Ngocha was brutally killed on Tuesday, July 4th, 2023, by trigger-happy colonial La Republic de Cameroon occupier soldier who stormed the village, burning the Queen Mother and the palace to ashes. These sacrilegious incidents has left the village in shock. The villagers devastated and in disbelief as the fun of Meijang and the entire village unexpectedly lost their queen burned inside the palace by Cameroon military.
Well, the Queen Mother of Meijang was assassinated in a military raid in the palace on the 4th of July. In the entire Amazonians have been mourning because she died, because she loved her husband, His Royal Highness Fon Ngocha. She died because she loved Meijang, and she died. She did not die because the children could not move her to a comfort zone. She died in her room in the palace because she has always stood for Meijang. We hope that her death could bring peace to Meijang and in the palace. Mom,
Other villages come under colonial La Republic. The villages come under colonial La Republic declaring military attacks recently, but the motive of Tuesday's attack remains unknown. The colonial La Republic de Cameroon governor says there is return to normalcy in the northern zone of Ambazonia. This sad incident reminds Ambazonians of late Mama Api, who the terrorist La Republic de Cameroon barbaric military burned to ashes in Kwakwa, a 4-month-old baby martyr in Muyuka, and the Ngabo massacres, where children and pregnant mothers were roasted by the same colonial Yaoundé military.
well, for how long will these atrocities continue under the watchful eyes of the international community when the perpetrators brazenly tell lies that there is return to normalcy amidst the killings? Well, taking a further look into the genocide in Amazonia, in 2019, President Paul Biya, sensing abandonment by global defenders of Biya's genocide regime for snubbing a call for an inclusive dialogue to address the conflict which he ignited, the 86-year-old at the time dictator of French Cameroon, Paul Biya, summoned a dialogue for his acolytes across the world. And at the end, a resolution earlier suggested by one of his rivals, Maurice Kamto, was inked for acclamation by the mostly pro-BS sleepy octogenarians who attended the charade. Now, why should a conflict that has killed about 14,000 of Anglophones be resolved by those who know nothing about it? An Anglophone lamented.
While a frustrated participant asked, former Transparency International Director Mr. Kerry Moner described it as a kind of king-makers gathering. Many were mere spectators refusing from speaking, which means they already selected those to speak, the barrister fumed as he walked out of the sleepy occasion. He had earlier poured his frustration on Twitter, saying, discussions at the national dialogue have resumed in plenary. I am a bit worried. All of the Bureau members were co-opted with no input from the participants who were called upon to explain. The people to speak are on a prepared list with a promise of having others speak. We wait.
Another expatriate who bought a new French Cameroon flag to attend the occasion after having burnt the previous one in anger over the treatment of his people confirmed his earlier hatred for French Cameroon. Many of us, he says, in the hall were offered money not to talk about federation. Mola Lesinge from the UK told pressmen. Genuine British Cameroonians all over the world had disassociated themselves with what they call another scam by French Cameroon. A genuine dialogue, they insist, must include a neutral mediator to tackle the coming together of these two autonomous people in 1961. A UN mandated territory cannot be deciding the fate of another mandated territory. As the role of the UN, an activist said, and the need for a neutral arbiter was equally echoed by the few independent minds, like the bishops from the British Cameroon who attended the beer dialogue in the French Cameroon capital Yaoundé from the 30th of September to 4th of October 2019.
Well, the scam of the CPDM monologue was realized by a French blogger, Squat Jules de Paul proposal. All right, now it means that 4 days and more to propose decentralization to a decentralized state, which has a whole minister of decentralization. He says he wants to understand. While the charade was being showcased to the moribund global community, the killings and burning intensified in the British Cameroons. This was happening in 2019 from Montangane, where 9 children were massacred in their own farm by French Cameroon soldiers, to Muyange, where internally displaced were shot, their makeshift tent set on fire. There was no evidence of a change in strategy. The question is, who kills 9 innocent children, calling them terrorists in broad daylight? A mourner in Muntangane southern zone of the British Cameroon questions, this is a genocide on us. Another wailing voice in the chorus of mourners spoke.
Well, more than 145 innocent British Southern Cameroonians killed in the month of September in the year 2019 by French Cameroon's Boulibetis militias, aided by France, Africa Union, and the United Nations. These have been the three parties that continue to praise every mother mission French Cameroon is undertaking in the British Cameroon. They supported the fake Yaoundé dialogue and praised its outcome. Racial tensions in the Tunisian coastal city of Sfax flared into violence, targeting migrants from sub-Saharan Africa, dozens of whom were forcibly evicted from the city, witnesses said on Wednesday. Amid the disturbances late Tuesday, police detained some and deported them as far away as the Libyan border, more than 300 kilometers, that is over 200 miles, according to a local rights group.
Well, the latest arrest started after the funeral of a 41-year-old Tunisian man who was stabbed to death on Monday in an altercation with migrants, which led to the arrest of three suspects from the Cameroons. Youth in Tunisia called for vengeance on Tuesday at the funeral of the man stabbed to death during a scuffle between residents and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa. Three African migrants from the Cameroons, according to initial information, were arrested as suspects in the stabbing to death of the local man in Tunisia coastal city of Sfax, a court spokesman said.
Now, the people suspected in the slaying of a 41-year-old Tunisian were under investigations for premeditated murder, according to Fauzi Masmoudi, a spokesman for the prosecutor's office in the seaside city of Sfax. 22 migrants from sub Saharan countries in Africa also were detained for questioning in connection with crimes in the area. The North African country's second largest city is a departure point for many migrants hoping to reach Italy, and tensions have been rising in Sfax for months. Police had fired tear gas on Sunday to disperse residents and migrants throwing stones at each other.
Well, Fauzi Masmoudi, spokesman for the ex-Fax prosecutor, said the victim, aged in his early 40s, was fatally stabbed late Monday during a scuffle between ex-Fax residents and migrants. Locals in ex-Fax regularly protest against the presence of the migrants and called them to leave. News of the man's death spread quickly after Tariq Mahdi, a member of parliament for X, posted a video on social media showing a body lying in the streets and a trail of blood.
Now, reactions to the post, some with racist overtones, included calls for African migrants to be expelled from Sfax. Um, we are going to avenge his death, said a group of young people. They chanted this at the victim's funeral on Tuesday, according to video footage published by a group which campaigns against illegal immigration in Sfax.
Tensions over the last few weeks in Fox was greatly increased. A few days ago, it was a stone thrown at each party. Today, it's a Tunisian citizen killed. With the threat of avenging his death, it is now obvious that Tunisia's border is no longer a safe place for sub-Saharan African refugees, while videos posted on social media showed crowds of local men in express attempting to knock down doors and set fire to a building in what appeared to be an attempt to chase black migrants out. Other videos showed black people being rounded up at night and taken to police vehicles.
Well, Tunisian security forces put some migrants in shelter to avoid vengeance attacks, while some 200 others headed to the Sfax train station to escape to Tunis, the capital, according to Radio Mosaic. The fate of hundreds more was grimmer. Migrants reported being taken to an isolated beach near Libya's border with armed men from both countries on each side.
While a 29-year-old man from Ivory Coast said he was among 600 sub-Saharan migrants caught in what he described as a no-man's land between the Mediterranean Sea and the Tunisian-Libyan land border near Ben Couden. The man who spoke to the press in a video call and shared his GPS location via WhatsApp said he was taken there Saturday evening, 2 days before the death of the Tunisian man, as he waited in a safe house to board a small boat to Italy.
More migrants were taken from their homes in Sfax in the middle of the night. In the following days, he claimed the name of the man who said he entered Tunisia legally in 2019 and worked on a golf course is being withheld for safety reasons. Uniformed and armed men subsequently transferred the people in his group to several police stations and National Guard bases before dropping them on the beach on Sunday, he said. The man spoke to the pressmen Wednesday and Thursday, surrounded by other black migrants, including women and little children.
He accused the Tunisian National Guard of beating them like animals, like slaves, and assaulting women in the group. Go to Libya, they will kill you, the man claimed. Security officials told the migrants you will never see Tunisia again. He also claimed that Libyan security at the border fired shots into the air to keep the civilians at bay. A drone flew over from Thursday morning, he added.
Now, Tunisian President Kais Saied railed at those who use his country as a stepping stone to Europe. The increasingly authoritarian president set off a crisis in February with a demand for urgent measures to crack down on black Africans, claiming they were part of a plot to erase Tunisia's identity. Some countries airlifted their citizens back home, other migrants tried to escape by sea to Europe. Sadly, these are the hurdles and life threatening challenges migrants have to face on a regular basis. Meanwhile, still on migrants, Spanish police announced on Tuesday the dismantling of an organization that smuggled more than 200 Syrian or Algerian migrants into Spain from Algeria. A transnational criminal network which brought Syrian and Algerian migrants into the EU has been dismantled, led from Libya and Spain. It had cells in Sudan, Liberia, and Algeria. Police said this in a statement.
15 people were arrested in southern Spain as part of this operation carried out in collaboration with Europol and the German and Norwegian authorities. 13 were remanded in custody. The investigation demanded that this organization, which also engaged in drug and arms trafficking, had brought more than 200 migrants to Spain from Algeria in very fast boats piloted by armed individuals. Well, she asks between 7,000 and 20,000 euros per person for crossing the Mediterranean Sea, the police said. This organization took care of Syrians wishing to reach Europe in their country and provided them with papers and visas to take them to Libya via the Sudan or Lebanon, and then to Algeria.
While Spain is one of the main entry points for illegal immigration in Europe, the number of illegal migrants arriving on the coast of mainland Spain and the Balearic Archipelago increased by 29.22% in the first half compared to the same period last year.
On Tuesday, we conducted a research and discovered that there are 8 financial sectors to be affected when BRICS finally launches its new currency. The 8 US sectors that could be impacted by the formation of the new BRICS currency are banking and finance, oil and gas, commodities, production and consumption, technology, tourism and travel, the foreign exchange markets, the international trade. But on the other hand, the New Development Bank, a financial institution created by the BRICS bloc of emerging markets, says it doesn't have any immediate plan for the group to create a common currency. The question is, what is happening? Why the inconsistencies? Few weeks back, we reported that this New Development Bank, created for the purpose of the new currency, said it would be needing the dollar to balance up its funds. BRICS Summit is in a few weeks. We are really going to see if the de-dollarization will function after the summit.
While I will await the summit, the BRICS Sherpa meets in schedule. It's scheduled this week, and ambassadors of the 5 countries will prioritize discussions about expansion efforts. 19 countries have expressed interest to join the bloc, and 13 nations amongst them have formally sent their applications. Also, 6 countries have informally approached to be a part of the BRICS alliance. Meanwhile, the New Development Bank, a financial institution created by the BRICS bloc of emerging markets, does not have any immediate plans for the group to create a common currency, its vice president and chief financial officer said. Now, while the members of BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are pushing to conduct more trade between each other in local currencies, they aren't ready to challenge the global dominance of the dollar. Leslie Masdorp said in an interview on Wednesday with Bloomberg TV's Haslinda Amin. The development of any alternative is more a medium to long term ambition. There is no suggestion right now to create a BRICS currency, he said.
Well, the bloc, which was formed in 2009, has been striving to gain more clout globally as a way of counterbalancing the dominance of the US dollar and its traditional allies have in multilateral financial institutions such as the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. Still, even the Chinese renminbi is a very long way far from becoming a reserve currency, Masdrop said. A key part of BRICS strategy is the Shanghai based New Development Bank, which has $50 billion in subscribed capital and plans to add several new emerging markets member countries this year in a bid to expand its lending capacity, according to Mastrop.
Already, in addition to the core BRICS countries, the bank includes Bangladesh and the United Arab Emirates among its members. Uruguay is in the process of joining this, and Saudi Arabia has applied as well. The intention has always been to create a global bank anchored in emerging markets, Mastrop said. Mastrop also said that the bank aims to direct 40% of lending to climate-related projects.
And in sports, the Rio de Janeiro government has named an anti-racism law in honor of Real Madrid forward Vinicius Jr. The Vini Jr. law, unanimously approved by the Rio government in June, will see sporting events stopped or suspended in the event of racist conduct.
Well, the heavyweight champion Alexander Usyk will defend his WBO, WBA, Super, and IBF titles against Britain Daniel Dubious in Wrocław, Poland on 26 August. Ukrainian Usyk 36 will face Dubois, the WBA mandatory challenger, at the 24,000 capacity Tarkiskin Arena. Gabellison has more.
Latest world sports. Football. Vinicius Jr. The Rio de Janeiro government has named an anti-racism law in honor of Real Madrid forward Vinicius Jr. The Vini Jr. law, unanimously approved by the Rio government in June, will see sporting events stopped or suspended in the event of racist conduct. Vinicius, 22, was racially abused several times last season. Today is a very special day and I hope my family is very proud, he said at a ceremony at the Maracana Stadium where he made his senior debut for Flamengo. I am very young and I didn't expect that I would be receiving this tribute. Local media said the law was inspired by Vinicius' response to being racially abused during a game at Valencia in May, which was stopped as the player pointed out those responsible. The law includes protocol on how to process complaints of racism and mandatory educational campaigns. Vinicius also received awards from Rio's Legislative Assembly and City Council, and his footprints were added to the stadium's Walk of Fame, beside those of Brazilian greats such as Pelé, Garrincha, and Ronaldo. Rio Secretary for Sports Rafael Paceni said it was an honor to pay tribute to an idol of Brazilian football, born and raised in Rio de Janeiro. Vinicius has been asked to lead a special FIFA anti-racism committee made up of players. His most recent games were in postseason friendlies for Brazil against Guinea and Senegal, which were organized as part of an anti-racism campaign, which will continue with a friendly against Spain at Rio's Bernabeu Stadium next March. Sometimes I wonder if I deserve so much, added Vinicius, who moved from Flamengo to Rio in 2018. I didn't expect so many awards and to receive all this affection at the Maracana, where I attended and played so many Flamengo matches. Boxing. Daniel Dubois. Alexander Usyk to defend heavyweight titles against Britain on 26 August. Heavyweight world champion Alexander Usyk will defend his WBO, WBA, Super and IBF titles against Brighton Daniel Dubois in Wrocław, Poland on 26 August. Ukrainian Usyk, 36, will face Dubois, the WBA mandatory challenger, at the 24,000 capacity Tarkiskin Arena. Dubois, 25, holds the WBA belt and has won 19 fights with 18 knockouts and been defeated once. He is a great fighter and I do respect him, but it's my time now, Dubois said. I'm going to shock the world and show people how good Daniel Dubois really is. Pound-for-pound star Usyk has won all 20 professional fights and will make a second defense of his unified title. I am very glad that we have the opportunity to organize my fight in Poland, where I won my first world title 7 years ago, Usyk said. The fight, originally scheduled for 12 August, was pushed back by 2 weeks to more closely align with Ukraine's Independence Day, which falls on 24 August. Following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, more than 1 million Ukrainian refugees relocated to Poland. I want to thank the Polish people who are helping Ukraine so sincerely, Usyk added. Hundreds of thousands of my compatriots have been hosted by this wonderful country. Therefore, I hope that my fight will become one more opportunity for Ukrainians and people of Poland to unite and strengthen our friendship. Motorsports. British Grand Prix. Silverstone boss warns against reckless protest at F1 race. There is a high chance of serious injury or death if protesters invade the track at the weekend's British Grand Prix, Silverstone's managing director has warned. Several sporting events have been disrupted by climate and animal rights groups in recent months, Stuart Pringle said. Enhanced searching may help prevent protests. It is a ridiculously reckless thing to put your own life at risk, Pringle said. It also risks the lives of the drivers, spectators, and marshals. He told BBC Radio 5 Live that Silverstone has an added advantage, a fence, in keeping protesters off the track. Unlike cricket or tennis, we have a fence which is designed to stop parts of a racing car in the event of an accident going into the crowd, he said. That is helpful, but it is designed to help keep debris going into the fence, not to stop a determined person that wants to put their life at risk. He said there will be 480,000 people attending the circuit over 4 days. Just Stop Oil protesters have disrupted other sporting events such as the Ashes, Wimbledon, and Rugby Union's Premiership final recently. While supporters of Animal Rising disrupted the Grand National and Derby at Epsom, supporters of Just Stop Oil were also handed suspended prison sentences and community orders after invading the Silverstone track in 2022. Home Secretary Suella Braverman led talks with sport leaders on Wednesday to look at how they could tackle disruption. Speaking about that meeting on Thursday, Policing Ministers Chris Philp said sports were being encouraged to hire more marshals and use injunctions to prevent protests. Would like to see obviously those sporting organizations increase the number of marshals and stewards. They have to be more careful about checking people coming into sporting events and react really quickly when something happens, he told Times Radio. At the meeting yesterday we had with sporting leaders, we encourage the use of injunctions because that allows for a much more severe criminal penalty if the injunction gets breached. Pringle agrees tougher stances are needed and pointed out there would be enhanced searching in operation for those attending the race weekend. I think we need stronger sanctions, he said. The people who invaded our track last year were giving suspended prison sentences. How that is appropriate, I have no idea. They were grossly putting people's lives at risk, their own and spectators, marshals, and competitors. I hope there might be a more robust approach to that. It is an offense to run onto a football field. I don't understand how it is not an offense to run onto a cricket pitch or a tennis court. But if you run onto Silverstone this weekend, it will be aggravated trespass, and that is a criminal offense. Gab Ellison reporting from Undaunted, ABC Amba News.
All right, thank you, Gab, for that sports report. And with that, we've come to the end of Undaunted tonight. But before we go, let's take a look at our major stories.
On Undaunted tonight, we brought to you La Republic's colonial minister reminding Ambazonians that they actually don't have any roads. We also brought to you colonial La Republic's military committing yet another sacrilegious act in Ambazonia.
All right, we also told you that in-house slave party, those that think that they are parliamentarians escaped from Ambazonian fighters' cell. AC community stands tall, colonial mainstream Ezio bows. Right, also in sports, we told you that Rio de Janeiro government names anti-racism law after Real Madrid's Ford. We also told you that in BRICS summit, bank's chief financial officer sees no move anytime soon towards common currency. And that was it for tonight on Undaunted, bringing to the news on trust stories. On behalf of Steph Smart and the entire Undaunted crew, we say thank you for tuning in.
We leave you with ABC Amba TV images. Good night and God bless you.